You know, some things never truly do change. Like my ring light being in my glasses. Hey, how are you? It's been a while since I came on here and I talked to you guys, so hey, hi. I've been wanting to come back for a while now, so I figured we should have a little reintroduction video for any new friends or anyone who hasn't seen me in a while. My name is Kai. I am a now 23-year-old cosplayer who's been making videos on the internet since they were about 16, both on YouTube and TikTok, where I would make my friends play dress up with me and make content. But the thing is, I then went to school for costuming and I didn't have time to make videos. So now I want to, now that I'm graduated, come back and make videos again, at least part of the time, because now I do costuming for a living, partially because the world is hell right now. I wanted to come back and make content now because I have a completely different group of friends along with the old ones who used to be in my videos all the time. And you know what? I figure that we should re-meet. Basically, the game that we are going to play, I have a little guy right here that is gonna have a slideshow that I will present on the screen to you. You should be seeing it right now, even. And that is going to be how I'm going to play this little game where we take scenarios that have happened to me and put them to characters. I feel like this is a good way to understand what I've been going through for the last couple of years where you guys haven't been being updated, and also, you know, bring us into the present, get some context, you know? So yeah, I went to college. I moved from Arizona to California. I went to school for fashion design. Specifically, when I went to California, I went to a school abbreviated as FIDM, or the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, which no longer exists. We'll get there. So we are going to play a little game called Canide My Life. It's like a Draw My Life, but it's kidding. So anyway, back to FIDM. So in my time being at FIDM, fun fact, my third year, in fact, they decided to close my school with little to no warning and sell it off to another college due to problems that they were having within budgeting, tuition, and also accreditation. So there were murmurs of this. If you are someone who was looking into art schools, this was a pretty solid thing that a lot of people were talking about. I want to probably make a longer video discussing my actual full experience with FIDM and what that looked like at the time, but just for context for people who don't know, FIDM announced that ASU, or Arizona State University, which based on my state becomes dramatic irony very quickly, decided to take over the management of my school, bought us, and then over the course of my third and fourth year, the school would slowly go from completely FIDM over to ASU, and the transitionary period is when I received my advanced AA and my BA. The only AA that I solidly had that I was not interrupted with is just my AA, and nothing else was completely run by FIDM, so I had a very unique experience being the last graduating class from both the costume design program, shout out, and also FIDM in general's like last legs. So yeah, I'm probably gonna make a longer video about that. If you have any art school questions, please let me know. I want to give my perspective on that because it's not all bad. If you know me, you know I have opinions and I'm very opinionated. But they're not all bad opinions. For this character, I assigned me Twilight Sparkle. Now, if you know me, you know that I detest being called Twilight Sparkle, but truly no other character goes through the heartache and dumb bullshit academically like Twilight Sparkle. So, all right, moving on. During my time at FIDM, to kind of distract myself from everything else going on, I ended up having to take a BA in business, which was not originally what I went to FIDM for, and therefore I would goof off in class a lot. I was a terminal goof for offer. Even though I have always been a terminal academic, my last 2 years of college did not count towards that. I would spend multiple class periods looking up how to buy flip phones off of eBay and convert them to 4 or 5G so they would actually work on a phone network. Fun fact, It's a lot harder than you'd think. There are a lot of forums on this though, so I definitely compiled a whole list on how to buy a flip phone when I was supposed to be like reading W5s, W10s, whatever, tax paperwork. But I was very much also doing it so that way my friends and I could go out clubbing early 2000s style, where our phones would basically just be walkie-talkies to one another and we couldn't be scrolling on our phones and stuff. I had a vision, all right? I wanted to be off the grid. So for that, I obviously assigned myself Nicole from class of because she's definitely the inspo. Moving on. Every time that I had to do something pertaining to living in a city, such as walking around, taking a bus, any of those things that I would not have done in my small town in Arizona, I would call a Skins UK moment. You know, the right music can make anything dramatic and can really motivate you to leave your apartment when you're feeling like a shut-in in a new city. And you know what? I suggest it to anyone. It's all about mindset. So I think that I'm going to assign that to quite literally any of the characters from Nana, most likely Hachi, but like look at me and then see why me putting Hachi aesthetically was going to be a bit of a problem. So I truly think that all of these bitches with their Vivienne Westwood while they're broke, it's all about mindset. I had to convince myself to do assignments a lot at Venom. The thing was, I love sewing. Sewing is great. Obviously, I'm a cosplayer and I make costumes. I love sewing. When it is the only thing you're doing all day for all of your classes, it becomes very physically and mentally draining. That is definitely one of the things that you learn in art school, is kind of how much your body can take when creating things, especially trying to make unique things all the time for grades or whatever. Basically, what I would do as a motivator is I would create a routine where I would go to my school for a lab day for pattern making or sewing or any of those things on campus. And if I did not hit a certain point, I could not go out. Thing is, everyone around me was also doing it. Half of these bitches were making their outfits for the night during this time. It was amazing. So for that, I wanted to put the DIY queen herself, Ibuki Miyota. Multiple times in her game does she say that she, before being put into the killing games, makes her own clothing. And you know what? Work. I did sleep through my first graduation, which film graduations are quite loud. So if you know how impressive that is, yeah. I was dressed as Gerard Way. I was very tired. I had not slept the night before. It was a very stressful day. When they called my name, I woke up, I walked on stage, I walked off stage, sat back down, back out cold. I don't remember any of that graduation other than walking on stage, and I barely remember that. I felt very Misa Amane that day for that one, because truly I do think if she was to ever graduate from a higher education, she would probably do the same thing. And if not, even just being dressed as Gerard Way feels like that, yeah, you know. For my second degree, I actually got valedictorian in my class. Shout out. I did forget to write a speech though. They definitely sent me 2 emails telling me to, and then I went, I have to graduate again for my BA anyway. I actually don't care. And then I didn't go, period. So I definitely told people I submitted one. This is me admitting I never did. I also put this as Nicole because this is basically an ending that you can get in the game. So this felt very obvious. Another thing that I would do is I would go to normal people, bars and clubs and stuff my first couple years in college in full goth makeup, which I know isn't like that shocking, but it was definitely a very interesting experience because it meant that multiple venues were very unsure of where to put me, especially if there was multiple events. So I do remember one time being out and straight up they didn't know where to put me, and there was a furry rave on one side and then like house music on the other side. They didn't know where to put me. I was able to just walk back and forth, and honestly, great experience. Shout out, I would do it again. I put for this character my goth queen herself, Stalking Anarchy. I had to teach myself how to use public transit, so I decided to add 2 very different reasons I used public transit. So first thing I did, I figured out I could go see the ocean.
I need to touch the sea!
So I definitely forced multiple people to take a 90-minute train ride with me just so I could see the ocean, which was totally a thing that we could have done on a much shorter train ride, but I was determined. I need to go in there! I'm going in! I just crave it. I crave to be there all the time. I brought out the baddest bitch of them all, Squid Girl. I do have a lot of newer characters in here, so this was more just a callback for those who know me from this era. Anyway, the Metro League hates to see me come in. Next thing I used public transit for, when my partner and I were long distance, I would definitely take an 8-hour train back and forth to go see them every other weekend. So shout out Salem. This is also their bed, because we no longer need that. So for this one, I assigned us as Aradia and Solix, not only because we have cosplayed them before and we looked super good doing it, but also I just think that they would, because she has gone across all time and space for him. All I'm saying, yeah, it's mostly convenient for her because she's a girl boss, but also that's her boyfriend. Next thing on my list is an incident that is, it'll make sense. Basically, my partner, the lovely Salem who I was just talking about, is Spider-Man for little kid birthday parties sometimes. They also talk in their sleep. So there was definitely one morning that I woke up and they elbowed me in the face and I just went, ow, what the fuck? And they went, sorry, it'll be okay. You've got a healing factor. Why would I have a healing factor? You were bitten by a radioactive spider. I'm not Spider-Man. You're Spider-Man. Oh, I'm Spider-Man. And he had to rush up to work because he forgot that he was supposed to be Spider-Man that day. It's not that funny of an incident, but I do feel like it's funny to mention that A, my boyfriend is Spider-Man, and B, the character I chose, it makes sense. I feel like this would happen with Eve and Mark kind of a lot. And this was one of the incidents that definitely inspired this video. This one is a bit of a stretch. This one is definitely getting into headcanon territory, but I definitely got 4 flat tires in not even 2 years. A pothole hates to see a bitch coming. I am well known at my local AAA, and I feel like so would Doreen Green. Maybe it's just because I wanted to put her in here, and she's frankly a lot too wholesome for a lot of the things that I felt like were on here. But she's unstoppable, but I truly don't believe that this bitch can drive. This is about the point in the list that we start getting into the very silly, goofy ones where I'm not always in the best light. So just be aware of that moving forward. We have, I used my school's business cards as filters. For what? You can figure that out, but a smokable item. I kept a school business card, a couple, in fact, and I cut them up and I folded them into filters, and I definitely got out of a ticket by sharing one of these filtered items with a security guard at park where I wasn't supposed to be smoking. So we did test it with Magic the Gathering cards later. Do not do that. Business cards and Magic the Gathering cards, very different flavor. Business card normal, Magic the Gathering card bad. So for that, I put the Archdevil of Hell herself, Feyroth Faye. This was inspired by the Golden Horde incident very much completely, because I'm not gonna say whose business cards they were, but it makes a funny pun with the thing I was rolling. You gotta take my word for it, okay? You had to be there. Moving on, there was definitely a day that I got stuck at work doing a very repetitive task because I am not going to divulge where I work, ever. It's definitely a job where I have a lot of weird menial labor because I am definitely the Charlie Day of a small local business, along with all of my other coworkers who are also all, for the most part, doing Charlie Day ass tasks. One of these days I was stuck with one of my poor little coworkers, and we were quite literally scraping paint off the floor with scrapers, and I recapped multiple seasons of The Walking Dead from memory to keep us from going quite literally insane from this task. I definitely explained all the way through the farm up until the prison, just for reference for any Walking Dead fans, and I assigned that to Rocket. I think that now this is getting a little, you gotta stick with me here. I chose Rocket for this because, hear me out, I think not only should music be shared in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe via the MP3 player or not the MP3 player, the cassette player, and Star-Lord and all of that. But I also think that much in Mr. Burns Goes to Hell style human TV shows and American TV shows, we see it with Kevin Bacon and movies, and they start talking about it like real people. I feel like if he had been taken in whenever Walking Dead was at its peak, I forgot, Walter White and Rick Grimes would be some crazy pulls for Rocket to think to be real people. You know, I felt very like a small raccoon entertaining my coworker that day. Another thing that happens to me now, because I went to school for TV and film costuming, is I go on sets of things sometimes. On the set of a independent short film, I met someone who would go on to, not even a full year later as far as I'm aware, become a TLC reality star. And I'm not going to divulge who, but it was definitely strange. I was in the costume department, and she was a lovely woman at the time. She was fine. She was very polite, and she definitely encouraged me and my coworker to explain large amounts of Adventure Time to her. I definitely did do that. And I assigned that to Kristen Appleby's herself, because hear me out. I don't think Kristen would do it probably now. It's not current season. I know I used a photo of her from the current season. Imagine this is a season 1 photo. It definitely did feel like I was explaining a religion to someone who didn't care. And she was doing a good job pretending that she did, but this was an adult woman and we were just that bored. Moving on, I fell asleep in Homestead cosplay in public. I was at the, I believe, Fanime, yes, Fanime, ParkCon, post-con party that happens outside, and if anyone knows what that is for context, it is a quite large party that takes place over the course of like a block. I spun around so fast and got so dizzy that I immediately got sick and got very tired towards the end of the night, so I crawled up on the stage that is in the middle of the park and fell asleep. Shout out to Salem, who was Solix at this time, and they watched me and made sure that I was safe, so that was very kind of them. I assigned this to a couple from Wodokoi, which, if you know Wodokoi, is a great manga about adult dating in the nerd and otaku scene in Japan. And Hanako and Taro have a fascinating relationship because she is a cosplayer who is oftentimes having to put that at odds with the fact that he is not, and he has no interest in it, and his interests as a fan are very different. And this whole interaction very much felt like I was making Salem do something that they didn't want to do, which was being in Homestead cosplay, but they did it because they appreciate me, thankfully, and they were looking out for me, so felt very like them. I also, in cosplay, launched off a bird scooter. So if you don't know what bird scooters are, they are these rent-a-scooters that I don't know how far spread they are outside of LA. I know they are a thing in Arizona now, but don't know if they're everywhere. You can rent them with your phone, and you basically get to go like a certain amount of miles an hour for a certain price, and they're very cheap. Basically, at LA Comic-Con, I was spending half the day at the con, and then I was going to take a bird scooter back to my apartment at the time. I no longer live in downtown LA. I was going to change out of cosplay to run to work. So I got on the bird scooter as Raven from Teen Titans, and in my panic, hit a curb so hard I launched over the handlebars of the bird scooter, shoulder first into the sidewalk, skid a giant hole through my costume, which is why I haven't worn her again, and had giant road burn from falling all up and along, it was actually this shoulder, under my clothes, all of my shift at work. I didn't even notice through how embarrassed I was, because not only did that happen, I got up, got back on the bird scooter, continued my scooting to the end of the block, where a guy then immediately started hitting on me, and then I scootered away. The insult to injury makes me really put this as our good queen of physical comedy, Joan of Arc from Clone High. Season 1, while I love season 2, I very much was picturing season 1 Joan. I met and befriended my cosplay idol of many years. I have definitely done videos on kinetic socks and all of those things before, and I met and befriended the owner, and I love them a lot, and I now help them with their editing and social media stuff. So follow your dreams, kids. Your idols on the internet are probably just people too, unless they're weird. I assigned that as my sweet girl from Modokoi, Narumi Momose, because in the comic she actually does meet her cosplay idol. It's her friend, Hanako. She just didn't know Hanako at the time and then realized that, oh, this is a woman that I know in real life who's my equal at work. I should just treat her like a normal person. Now, obviously, they still have times where they respect each other, but, you know, I'm just saying. This next one is a little bit more shameful. I opened my AO3 tabs in front of a photographer by accident, and I'm gonna put up on screen to share this trauma because it becomes important for my next story as well. This is how I keep my fanfictions. They are organized. I have every fanfiction that I've liked since 16 in these files. It's the Library of Alexandria. If it were to get deleted, yes, they are in my history on AO3. It's different when I have them sorted, okay? So after this incident, I had been before trying to keep this a secret, but after this incident, I quickly stopped giving a fuck. So a lot of people in my life have seen this page before, and all of them, trust me, judge me a lot harsher than whatever you're thinking, so I can't be hurt by it. Anyway, this would happen to Gwenpool. There's not enough girl failure representation for the amount of girl failure moments I have in this presentation, but you just have to know Gwenpool is applicable for most of these, and that is why I'm her. This was the second story that you needed the context of what this looked like for. I also sometimes bartend, and while bar backing one day at a lesbian night, shout out lesbians, JFic shipper came up to the bar with a JVic charm, and my coworker was definitely talking to them, as they do very politely to all of the bar people who come up. And I spotted that, and they started talking, and I went, yo, look at me. We are one and the same. I know what you are. But I definitely got a better tip from them, because I never get to do this. I never get to be the person who connects, because look at me. Being able to have physical proof and go, hey, I'm one of you. It was definitely a cool moment for me. And my coworker definitely did go, yeah, I can tell this one's for you. I never found your Blue Sky account, sorry about that. So if you are that JVic cosplayer, reach out, you were funny. So sometimes you just gotta Fujo out at the lesbian night. Good girl failure moments happen to her, bad ones happen to Gwenpool, as you'll see from this. So fun fact, I don't use X anymore for the most part because gross. So I then made a New Year's resolution that I would just stop using the internet as my diary. Clearly that's broken. And I then started sending all of my would-be tweets to my classmates or friends unprompted. Years after this though, it then has just become a habit, and I am a habitual oversharer. So sorry to my friend Eliza when I texted you out of the blue. Have you seen Star Trek? You just seem like you have. I saw the Chris Pine Yowie one, parts of the original show for research, and then some of the other shows. I didn't even let her finish typing that text before I had in my chat. Okay, Kirk, Spock, who's topping? Obviously Spock. This one was also wonderful. To piggyback off of that for a different one that I sent. Same shit, different message. Are you ever looking through a tag and just go, God, so much mpreg? I was just in the general Stucky tag, and I got 3 mpreg fics in a row, and I got really upset, and that's what actually sparked this. Why do all these bitches want Steve Rogers pregnant? So that also felt like a very Gwenpool one, especially due to this scene. Anyway, so point is, my degeneracy knows no bounds, and I wish to overshare with you again, the internet. And that's why you should start getting excited for different content that's not this. I want all of you to know that I have very much missed being on the internet as a silly, goofy little guy in your guys' phones. And I want to get back to doing actual cosplay content that I like build videos and design videos, and I also want to talk more about art school and the experience that that was and how that has related to my cosplay journey. And I also just want to do tutorials on stuff that you guys want to see, if there's anything I can commentate on in the cosplay world, because fundamentally being out here has really made me realize that your art is yours and that you should be able to express it and post however you want, and also whatever that looks like, even if it's you reading dumb shit off your iPad. Feel free to share what you guys have been doing since last time I was here if you are returning and you just remember me for My Hero Academia videos when you were a child. Yeah, I see those comments. Fundamentally, I just want to get back on here, but I didn't want to come back without having a proper howdy do. So with that, I definitely hope to see you guys again in the next one, and bye!